Good morning, everyone. We'll give it a couple more minutes before we kick into the presentation. Today, we're talking about how to optimize your TM1. We still see a few people joining in, so we will allow a couple of minutes for people to join in. Okay. All right. All right. In interest of time, we will kick off. And thanks everyone for joining in. Today, we're talking about how to optimize your TM1 or planning analytics, IBM Planning Analytics. Uh, just a bit about me. So I'm Amendra. I run Octane Software Solutions. I've been a TM1 architect for a long time before starting Octane. So I ran TM1 in multiple companies, places like Canon, Macquarie, and have got a deep experience in especially large scale TM1 applications and how to run TM1 applications in a more efficient way, and how to expand, how to sell the functionality of TM1 within the organization to optimize the use of TM1. Because sometimes TM1 just sits there and only does budgeting, forecasting, and things like that. How to make full use of your investment. A bit more about Octane. Octane is a premier global provider of planning analytics software solutions. So we're based here, we're headquartered here in Sydney, but we have got teams and staff in all cities in Australia. We've got 4 offices in India, office in Dubai, Fiji, and we've got staff and people working 24/7 supporting our global clients with their TM1. So well and truly embedded in the ecosystem. We work very closely with IBM in the upcoming enhancements, and also providing feedback on what the market is saying on TM1 and what the next level of development should be in the product. Move to slides. The slides moving a bit slow today. These are some of our clients. Obviously, we can't fit all of our clients, but this gives you some idea of the different size and the breadth of companies that we deal with. A lot of them are large global organizations. There are a number of mid-size and smaller organizations, especially here in Australia, that use planning analytics, especially since it's now available on the cloud. The consumption of planning analytics and being able to start using the entry barrier is quite low compared to back in the days, maybe 10-15 years ago. You needed to have your grantee saver and be able to have people run it for you. Now it's become a lot more self-service with the SaaS-based licensing. So we see a lot more mid-size and smaller organizations taking up planning analytics. A lot of them use planning analytics in a whole range of different ways and things. So budgeting, forecasting is probably what everyone is familiar with. But amongst the pack of clients that we have, we do all kinds of things from workforce management to optimizing production to doing the commission calculation and commission engine. Our team has got deep expertise in this space, and what we try to do in sessions like this is share what we've learned, what we see in the market, so everyone else can take some learnings and maybe see a few things that they can take back into their own organization. Today, what we'll be talking about mainly is the common pitfalls. So what we've seen in the last 5-6 years of how the trajectory of TM1 or planning analytics has been. What are the main reasons that organizations find it difficult to keep up with the TM1, the development of TM1 and things like that. Recently, I was asked in another forum as to what are my thoughts on some organization probably not happy with the application at times, and that's a fair call. and none of our clients are unhappy from what I know, and that's largely because of what we do in a more process orientated way, in making sure that they're up to date. We keep feeding them the right information, keep doing the checkpoints, ensure you are up to date. And if organization is getting what they need out of their investment in application in the BI tool, there's no need to sit and worry about, or do I need to look outside. So that's what I've seen. Today we'll also talk about bit about the customer story. So I won't be naming the customers, but what I'll be doing is filtering down what we've seen in some of the customer sites and giving examples of what the issues that they were facing. And and lastly, finish it off by giving some tips and tricks on how to get your TM1 running properly. We call it make sure your TM1 is humming, so it's more of a set and forget, so you don't have crisis meetings every second week about things falling apart, things not running, data not loaded, and things like that. So how do we avoid that? All right, thank you. Before we kick in, just wanted to reiterate, many of you probably don't know that TM1 is turning 41 this year. So 41 years ago, it was invented by Manny Perez. Some of us have been lucky enough to meet him a few times. He's unfortunately passed away now. He is known and widely recognized as father of TM1. TM1 stands for Table Manager 1. That's how it started when he was working for Exxon, and they had a problem with planning the shipping routes and things like that. In 1996, it got sold over to Applix. Applix put some investment in, TM1 Web was born. It became a bit more scalable. 2007 was a big step change when Cognos bought Applix, which was not a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal, but 4 months later, IBM bought Cognos. So that was the inflection point for TM1. It eventually now is known as been renamed as IBM Planning Analytics, powered by TM1. With IBM came the big scalability and the R&D budget, which allowed TM1 to be in the form that it is today. Things that have come into play is like more TM1 REST API, cloud-based application. We've got a workspace which has come in. Now you can have multiple ways of consuming TM1. You can have on-premise, you can have it on the IBM cloud, or you can have it on the AWS cloud as a SaaS product. And now what we're seeing is more and more infusion of the AI products into the application. So like AI assistant and things like that are coming into play, which is quite timely because the market is at the moment looking for products and looking for things that has got a AI infused or integrated within the products. Since ChatGPT has come out, there's everyone is aware of what the capability of AI is. IBM has been working on AI for last 60 years, 60 odd years. So there is a very, very deep understanding of what and how to deploy it and how to infuse the existing products with AI. Not for today, but we're doing a number of projects with our existing and newer clients on how to get the AI side working. So if you do have an interest in that, drop us a line and I can take you through some of the examples of what's happening in that space as well. That's not something we'll be talking about today. Moving on, we filtered down the common pitfalls, and this is a combination of what we've seen as the main problem areas that some of the sites have. Today, I think main point of my discussion would be around the sites that are still on premise, and we still got a large number of TM1 enterprises or companies using TM1 that are still on premise. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we do find wrong is that if you leave it as it is, don't upgrade it, don't keep it up to date, that's when it gets out of date very quickly, because you're no longer keeping up to date with the new functionality that's coming in. And very soon, when compared to something else in the market, you go, oh, our application is out of date. It's not your application is out of date. You haven't updated it. So one of the major things we see is the out of date licensing and infrastructure. So infrastructure, in this case, we be meaning the servers. Licensing has a number of iteration over the years, and if you haven't looked at your licensing and if you just simply kept on renewing it year on year, you're more than likely on an out of date version of licensing. There are newer variations available, which is more suited and more budget friendly as well. So if you haven't done that for a long time, that is probably the first point of call we'd suggest we start with and have a look and see. The second thing is the infrastructure, the servers. The servers do reach end of life, and if you're not updating, maintaining, patching, not only there is a security risk, uh, there's also a risk of it not being able to perform as good as it can. So TM1 is RAM hungry at times, so you need to have that singing quite well. So that's something that we see, especially on the on-premise side. I haven't probably come across organization that has got these two uh, operating in sync quite well for a long time. So if you are on premise, I can almost bet that you probably need to have a look at this. The other thing that we find people struggle with or which causing concern within the organization is the support and development model. And it's not just it. Most of the people that we come across have got a very expensive way of looking at TM1. They either use an in-house resource or they use external vendors or they bring in contractors in, the three main ways of running it, or sometimes do nothing and try and train up someone in finance to do it, which is largely unsustainable if because everyone has a day job and it's very hard to keep the focus to bring people in to do the system work on a part-time basis. um, we also people organizations using support model which is not scalable or not flexible, so it doesn't go up and down with the peak demands and things like that. And there is almost a certainty that you've got a backlog of enhancements and projects which you know can be done and it will help everyone, but there's simply no resourcing available to do it, or simply there is no budget or people available to look into it and prioritize and get it done, which again goes back to the theme that your application slowly starts getting out of date. And the third thing we see is the static functionality. All organizations evolve. You'll be adding new cost centers, buying, selling departments, divisions, M&A activity happening. The size and the scope of the company, the products you sell will always be evolving. So by keeping the system static and not evolving with the organization means slowly you again become out of date. There are other things that start happening offline, off with it, not in the system, outside of the system to cater for that. And then suddenly you have popping up of multiple mini BI applications, either in Excel, other applications. So you lose control of the source of truth, the process work, the amount of reconciliation between multiple systems. It just uh, it doesn't make economic sense to not evolve your TM1 application as your organization evolves. What it also means is uh, your application is out of date, so your sort of the automation, the newer features, and all that is not being utilized at all, like virtual dimensions and all, is not being utilized. User training. So this is a big one that we see is if the users don't know how to use TM1, what we see is somebody leaves a finance role or FP&A role, and they hand over to someone, and that happens three times. After about three or four times, the fourth person really no idea what he's doing, why he's doing that, but it's just been handed over. More so, there is no documentation in most of the places, and these days we don't push documentation as like we used to because nobody reads documentation. Systems are meant to be designed in a way that it's intuitive and you're able to use it. Think of Apple. So when you buy Apple phone, you don't get a user manual with it. It is intuitive enough for us to be able to use it. So when we design and run and build applications, we try and make sure that it is built in a way that you're able to work with it, and it's relatively intuitive in that. Not always the case. It's running BI tools is a bit more complex than using a phone, but you know what we're trying to do here and what we're saying. So these are the four big ones. Obviously, there are a few others, but these are the we had a discussion among our team and a poll, and these were the four things that propped up as the key reasons why organizations are sort of left behind in not being able to utilize the TM1 to the full potential and not able to get to the full juice out of the application. So you made a big investment, might as well get the most out of it. So moving on to some of the customer stories. So these are some of the things that we've seen happening, and also what is the fix. Um, License and infrastructure, as we spoke about earlier. So one of the clients was stuck on an older licensing model. It was quite expensive to renew every year, and the the savers were also at end of life. So not only were they having a very high cost of licensing, but they were also up for a high cost of replacing the savers. And in that case, we did a cost benefit analysis for them to do like for like deployment, whether to do a upgrade on the on-prem, or could this be the right time to go to the cloud. So if you've been keeping up to date with the market, you'd know that the cost of computing on the cloud has been coming down every year on year. So you might be at times surprised if you haven't done this exercise, is to go out. I would suggest go out and do that and see if it is cheaper to go to the cloud now for you or not. It's not always about the cost, but it's also about keeping up to date. Going to the cloud means you don't have to do the upgrades, you don't have to do the patching. By and large, you'd expect the cloud deployment either via IBM AWS or AWS would be more safer or less risk for you as far as the cyber attacks are concerned. In this case, we did the cost benefit analysis, and it was fairly apparent that for them the cloud licensing was cheaper than what they were paying as a renewal. And I know of at least 3 or 4 other sites in Sydney alone that are sitting on and paying licensing, which is higher than what they would get for cloud today. So that's something that you have to do and try and understand whether, and again, it's unique for each company. So you'll have to do your own cost benefit in this case. There's also multiple licensing option now available. So you can still go on-prem. You can get TM1 SaaS via IBM servers. That's mainly for the larger clients above 60 users, or you can get it via AWS as well. So if you are an AWS shop, you can get your licensing via the AWS SaaS product. The product itself is like for like, 100% the same. There's no difference between them. The only thing different would be the deployment mechanism and how the updates and the patching happen. So for example, if you do get on-prem, you're responsible for updating it and things like that. The other client we talked about was the support model. So this client had a combination of in-house. So they had a in-house resource and a couple of vendors, consultants coming in to bolster doing the projects and things like that. The couple of challenges they started talking to us is because firstly the in-house resources kept on moving. As soon as they got trained up and became highly skilled in TM1, they would leave for another company or another vendor and things like that. So they were in a constant cycle of hiring and trying to keep retaining staff. That's always going to be difficult. If your in-house resource is really good, he trying to retain him and keeping him engaged with the quality of work that he will find other places is going to be really difficult. unless you are a really big shop, it's almost impossible. So that's one thing that you have to think about is the amount of investment you make into people, how long will they stay, and at some point when they leave, what will happen. Then the other thing is vendors. So if you in Sydney, getting a consultant in is you're looking at $1,800 a day rate is the norm by the vendors. When I was running projects at Macquarie, and we had multiple projects. It just simply was not um, cost. The cost benefit didn't weigh up using external vendors to be able to do the projects at the level we were doing, because the cost was simply too high. So that's the other thing you have to look at is it sustainable getting vendors in to do the projects for you? Is there another way? Things like that. So you have to keep and look out for that. Uh, Things we do. So we've got onshore, offshore. So we combine that and have a hybrid delivery model, which means the cost is uh, significantly cheaper to do projects. What we also have is fractional support. So you only pay for what you use. You don't have to have us sitting there doing nothing. And so there are multiple ways to attack that. So one is you probably, depending on the scale and size, our from where we sit and looking at hundreds of clients along the way, our view is if you are under 50 users, it's probably not sustainable for you to run, manage, and maintain your in-house resourcing. Multiple reasons: you won't have enough work to allow the in-house resource to have enough exciting work, enough projects to be able to continue that. Plus, these resources may not be the right level of skill as well. So you may be really good as a support person, not good in projects, or really good in projects, doesn't like to do support, or vice versa. Could be any combination, any iteration of that. Usually doesn't work out. Stale and static TM1. So we have out of date models. Most of the clients that we walk into, and especially if they're on premise or if they've not been keeping up to date, the models are out of date. They've got things happening outside of the system, as I spoke. So the first thing we do there is we recommend doing a health check. And when I say we recommend, you don't have to use us always to do it. You can go to your own vendor, and you can do a cost comparison if you need to. Uh, First thing we recommend in that case is to do a health check to understand what is it that you're missing out on, where you are. And when we do the health check, we look at both the technical and the functional health check. So where you are sitting technically, where you could be, and what are the steps to get there. Functionally, where you are, how automated is your budgeting process, how many manual steps do you do to load the GL data, how do you handle the mapping, how do you handle the exception. So we tackle all of that and give you a report saying that these are the areas where we have identified that you can improve on. So doing a health check will allow you to know where you are, where you want to go, and what are the steps. So that's something that we recommend highly. The other one is drowning in manual tasks, and we see that a lot more often than we should. And it's still surprising with the amount of technology we have around us that we still have people dumping data into Excel, doing the reconciliation, pushing back, and all that kind of thing, loading data, and sitting there waiting for the data to load, and the reporting, still doing manual reporting. The rollovers is another area where a lot of people spend a lot of time. All that can be automated, and it's not rocket science, and you won't be the first one doing it. There are about 200 other companies which has done it already. So it's a simple matter of being able to have a look at the task, understanding what your staff is doing, where they're spending a lot of their time, and how we approach it. So obviously you can't automate everything. We do the 80-20 rule and go, what are the 20 tasks that are sucking up 80% of your time? Let's focus on that and see which ones we can automate, and go that way. It helps everyone. The other thing that the customers are mainly worried about is the high cost of ownership. So you must have heard, especially from other vendors that sell other tools, or TM1 is very expensive to run. Yes, it's expensive to run if you don't do all the right things, but the total cost of ownership is something that we look at and go, what is the total cost of ownership and how do you reduce it? Going to the cloud is probably one of it. And because of the high cost of ownership, what you find is that the value of TM1 is diminished, because it's a high cost tool, and now it's taking, we need to get a lot more out of it. So I'll talk a bit more about that on the total cost of ownership, because that's an important one. And this is something, so I've stripped out the numbers and just put the percentage here of a recent one that we recently did, is working with the client to understand their cost base. And this was when they were looking at going onto the cloud. I'm talking about the cloud. That's not the only way to modernize. You can modernize on-prem as well, but in our opinion, that takes a lot more effort and a bit bigger budget. Anyway, to understand the cost of ownership, one of the things people, when we give the licensing for on cloud and on-prem, is they compare just the licensing. And what we try to educate everyone is that it's not just the licensing. When you get a SaaS licensing, it covers the servers, it covers the backups, it covers the networks, it covers the updates. So you don't have to have a people or a person sitting there tuning up the servers and things like that. So that's a big cost that goes out straight away. And when you consider the total cost of ownership, in all the cases, a SaaS-based TM1 comes out on the top. There might be other reasons you decide not to go on SaaS, could be security, could be company policy and things like that. But if you look at the cost alone, I'd be surprised if this doesn't stack up in your environment as well. So comes with monitoring and all kinds of things. And the best thing that happens is when you're on a SaaS base, it's always up to date. Your core business is to save your clients, which more than likely is finance in this case. Your core business is not to run TM1. That's our core business. We know how to do it. We'll do it better than you'll ever do. So when you look at it and go, we strip out the cost of having someone sitting there updating, doing the patching, and doing the automation bit that can be doing the tasks that can be automated, or tasks that are not even required in a SaaS environment. So all that will go away. So this is something that we probably would be happy to work with you if you're in that situation and trying to analyze as to where you sit. And sometimes it's a timing thing. If you are up for a saver and you need to invest in a saver, that's around the time when it probably makes the best cost benefit sense to move to the cloud. So we what we've done in conclusion is come up with a TM1 modernization metrics, and this measures the time, how long does it take to do these things, and the impact it will have. And what we would probably be doing in any environment that we work with is start with a simple health check. That's 4 or 5 days, and you'll understand where you are, and you'll also get a very good picture of where you can be or where you should be, and what are the steps to get there. It will also identify the bottlenecks. It will also identify your data flow and things like that. So we've got automated ways of doing the health check nowadays. So that's something that we'd recommend, that you either go to your vendor or internally, or talk to us, get a health check done. So you've got at least a start point. And then you can decide which is the bigger bang for you. What's your pain point? Do you want to go fix your automation side first, or do you want to fix your support model? Support model is easy to fix. People like us, we'd be able to assist with the support model. Only come in when required, and drop back when not required. Also provide you with the training, set up the user groups for you, get it all set up and running. We'd also say support model and automation, I'm 50-50. Both are equal for us as to what the priority would be. The automation side of things is where you look at the 80-20 thing, which I spoke about earlier, is look at the top 20 tasks that are sucking up 80% of your time, and start looking at automating that. Put a small button in there about get AI on the agenda. This would be the time where you start talking about AI and start understanding how AI can help, especially on the automation side of it. Automated forecasting, predictive, all of that is got now AI infused in it. We're running POCs at the moment around doing the generative commentary and things like that. So if you can automate the commentaries in your P&L reporting and things like that, that's where AI will come in. The good thing is the latest version of TM1 all comes with AI infused in it. So it's not additional investment half the time. Then the other thing is, once you fixed all that, is to start thinking and running TM1 as a service. And this is where you've got proper SLAs, got ticketing systems, you've got monthly monthly tracking of the tickets, why, what, issues register, all of the things that you need to start having running TM1 as a service. And that will also allow you to have a list of enhancement, a list of projects, being able to have a forum of your super users or of your stakeholders to be able to help and prioritize which projects, which enhancements need to be done, and you go from there. And what is the most cost effective way to do it, how you're running your TM1, what combination, which vendors to use when, and things like that. All that will come into play once you reach the stage where you start running TM1 as a service. All right, yes, please, for questions, drop it in a chat here, or if there's a way to ask here, or email us at media@Octane Solutions, and we'll answer that. So before I finish, I'll just give you a few tips and tricks we've given. But what I'll also talk about very briefly is what's the Octane toolkit in this space. So we've got a number of things that we use to assist our clients, and these are available. And these are some of the things which you can pick and choose, or take the whole thing. We come with best practice. We've got flexible support model. We've got a special team that does the licensing and licensing optimization. So there is a fair chance that we'll be able to reduce the cost of licensing and the cost of holding TM1, cost of running TM1 for you. We've got a set way of doing system health checks. So we do so many of that we've got a mechanism that we come in and quickly, and we give sort of for system health check upgrades and things like that, things that we do on a very regular basis. We do fixed price and go, this is based on our experience, our knowledge in your environment. This is the fixed price we'll give you. So there's no risk to you as to how long it's going to take. We've all been on the other side of the coin, where I go, we start with a small project and end up with a big bill. So none of that with us. We've got checklist mechanism around the upgrades and things like that. We've got our own proprietary end user training modules and all that, which is open for our clients. And I think if you're not a client, you can go to our portal and buy our training and consume that. We also do on-site training, in-person training as well. And we've got another set of team that does the automation bit, where the 80/20 rule that I'm talking about. These days we do a lot more of those, where we go and understand and highlight and identify which process needs to be automated. Thank you. One final slide I think I've got. All right, so this is our current pricing. So one of the things is we don't shy away with the pricing, so don't contact us for pricing. This is all published on our website. So we've got multiple layers of support. So you can start with Octane Red, Octane Blue. Octane Red is around Australian $2,300. You get 15 hours. Octane Blue is 4,500. You get about 40 hours of support. And Octane Black is when you need someone dedicated to your project or to your support, is $14,500. So that's our current pricing. This is for our support models. And if there's anything else you want to discuss, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you once again for your time. If you do have any questions, once again, feel free to let us know. Reach out to me either on LinkedIn or via the email, and we'll get back to you with the answers. If there's anything we can help to increase and increase the usage or improve the usage of your TM1, we'd be happy to give you ideas, tips, and tricks, and then you can see what you want to do with it. Thank you. I'll see you later in the next session. Bye.